Getting some feedback in the background right now, but here we are, TSX Investor Day with TerrAscend going on tomorrow. So we're with the TerrAscend team right now, and Jason Wild's going to be joining us in a few minutes. A little bit of delay with his flight from Miami coming up to Toronto, but first, let's talk about some headline news as we welcome in the gents. Benjamin A. Smith. Good to see you in person, brother.
Yeah, it's good to be here in person. We got Anthony here from Miami as well, so it's good to see you, Shad.
Got you out of the house.
Yeah, we're at the house. We're downtown Toronto.
Get a joint in. Get a joint in.
Yeah, brought to you by cookies. Grab the cookies.
If we could smoke this live on air, we would, but we can't. We're at Moxie's here in downtown Toronto, but they got the packages here.
Yeah. How's the flight, sir? Good to see you, Anthony.
Good. It's nice to be north of the border to you boys.
Like the crisp air here in Canada?
It's much cooler than it is in Miami.
Yeah, that's for sure.
90-degree heat.
So what do you guys think? We got TerrAscend obviously doing their TSX Investor Day tomorrow. Smart move by the company, I think. This is a big deal, I think, in the space. You guys surprised that more companies are doing this, Anthony?
I think just like the TSX uplisting that Jason did, he's going to set a trend with this as well.
Yeah,
I think
good
you're going
point.
to see more investor days. I mean, I think Kim, Ben, they're going to take notice. They're probably going to want to get their investor bases active and engaged, get to know them in person, and I think these are going to be commonplace events that we see moving on.
Yeah. So if you're in the crowd tomorrow as an investor, what's some questions that you think you'd like to ask to say some of the management pertaining to TerrAscend?
Yeah, I'd like to know a lot about what's happening in Maryland when the financials come out, what sort of impact the Maryland operations, which we understand are very impactful and are doing very well in Maryland. How much is that going to help overall on your top line and bottom line as well? Also, maybe the impact of 280E. I know it's not quite here yet. The investors are getting a little antsy about getting that actually in the books and the DEA to reschedule. But when it does, how much of an impact, tremendous impact, will it have on the bottom line and the top line? And I think it's obviously going to be very significant. And maybe Jason will have some words about whether he's hearing on Washington, being very connected, about when that might happen. I think that's the big question everybody wants to know.
Yeah, can't wait to see him. Obviously, he's been a little bit delayed, but let's talk about some of the headline news today. Steve Scalise, the vote upcoming, appears that he's going to be Speaker of the House. Like, what's up?
No, it seems like Steve Scalise is going to be dead on arrival. They're not expecting him to be able to get enough votes. He got the Republican vote to now go to the floor and get the whole vote from the House. And people are thinking that he doesn't have the staying power. He doesn't have the votes to actually get through. This is looking like Kevin McCarthy all over again. Kevin McCarthy went 15 rounds with the entire House, had to negotiate, and now we're here. So I don't really know what's going to happen, but it's not looking like it's going to be Steve Scalise. And if it's not Steve Scalise, you're looking at Jim Jordan.
Yeah, I could be wrong on this, but I mean, when the news hit this morning, it's probably late morning, the market at MSOs actually rallied. So I don't know, maybe it was a technical bounce. I don't know this for sure, but it seemed like as the news of Scalise not being in the race anymore, not having enough support filtered out, MSOs started to rally. He was up about 5% at one point, and then it came back down. I don't know if there's realization that maybe Jim Jordan is next online, and they're about 1A, 1B when it comes to cannabis issues. But sorry,
I think the conversation around SAFE is just, I'm sick of it. Like the ultimate goal that we're going to get here is rescheduling. The reason why the rally kicked off was because of the HHS recommendation of the DEA. The political will of the executive branch of the United States is behind the cannabis industry. SAFE matters, but I don't think SAFE matters anywhere near what people think it's.
I echo that conversation. And
I'm not saying this is a fucking cheerleader of the industry.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm saying this is being a realist. That is our prize. Is rescheduling.
Yeah, I actually made a tweet yesterday, basically echoing those thoughts. I'm like, I am so sick of talking about safe banking. I've been talking about this ever since my days in journalism, getting back to the Midas letter. I mean, we're talking about safe. We're talking about the impact of it.
And can you imagine if we get to the day where there's rescheduling and it's really not that important anymore, and you look back and go, I just wasted basically 10 years of my life thinking about this.
The problem is we don't have much to talk about right now.
I know.
There's not a lot of growth. Earnings season's around the corner. Like, everyone's fixated on SAFE because I think it's going to bring price action into the sector. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting. We get to sit up here and talk about it. Everyone gets excited about it. But getting that passed and getting that through is a very difficult feat in itself.
Yeah.
The nature of rescheduling coming from the DEA to the executive branch and then getting written into law is a process with way less friction behind it.
Agreed.
And to me, that is much more progress for the sector than savings.
You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Except for perhaps the issue with credit card and credit card sales, which is kind of a big thing.
Yeah, how will that work?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think anybody even has the answer for that, or even if it's a guarantee that credit cards would come into this space. But there is a chance, if safe, that the language is such that credit will be a part of the dispensary industry, which of course will add to the basket sizes and the ability for the consumers to spend at the dispensary level. Although that's not a guarantee yet. That's the inference. That is an assumption that people make that goes part and parcel with proper banking coming into the industry.
Yeah. Well, we talked to Tyler Berline in Chicago briefly from Safe Harbor, who flat out said, like, we're not going to see major credit cards, even if Safe were to pass, jump in right away. But
because the AML laws need to get straightened out. Unless the AML laws get straightened out, the credit card companies are not going to do what's called a high-risk transaction.
Right.
There's a reason why, and I'm not speaking from experience, but you can't use credit cards on a lot of pornography sites. They get chargebacks.
Yep.
They get their heinous charges. It's called high-risk payment processing.
Yep.
Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they do not do the business of high-risk payment processing. So it's just not going to be a function of everything streamlined, and this is not seen as high risk, which is a complete level down from it actually being a Schedule 1
So
drug.
you don't anticipate that SAFE will change that with the credit card companies, or you're not sure yet? It's unclear.
I think that SAFE still has some nuance to it that can get written in there, but I mean, I don't think credit cards are going to change the basket size.
yeah,
You don't think so?
No. I mean, let's be real.
no.
This is not a cash industry. I could go into a dispensary right now in Florida and use my debit card, and I can execute a transaction using plastic. Like, it's not as big of a cash industry as everybody thinks.
Yeah.
From a cash perspective, the fact that the companies will be able to leverage financial institutions, the employees will be able to actually utilize employee benefits, get their paycheck through a bank, like that is paradigm shifting. But the actual point of sale transactions that are going on, I don't think credit cards move the needle whatsoever.
Yeah. You brought up in our last podcast earlier this week, November 8th, big day in Florida. We had a few people that reached out to us and said, is that the vote? And I'm like, no, it's whether or not it determines if it's going to be on the ballot or not, correct?
Yeah, that's not the vote. The vote's going to be
100%.
The vote's going to be in 2024.
Exactly.
I mean, when the elections happen for the general election.
But what do you think that does? Like, that's going to be great if it actually is included on the ballot,
So-
because what is the approval rate of, like,
It's massive.
massive, right?
If that initiative goes on the ballot, it will pass. It has, I think, 74% approval
It's huge.
from the general public
74?
in the state
Yeah.
of Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
That high?
Yeah.
The state of Florida wants adult use cannabis. That is in the general interest of the population of Florida. If that ballot initiative is on there, I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts. It will pass. It will then be subject to lawsuits. It will then be subject to injunctions and whatever. There'll probably be some legalese posturing, but that thing's fucking passing.
Yeah.
If it gets put on the ballot.
Well, being a former day trader, if that were to happen, and we do see that on the ballot, like, what's a trend that you could see happen if that's announced early next month?
I think the trend would be, foremost, would be by Florida-based operators that
Yeah.
have a big footprint there. Obviously, Trulieve, everybody knows them. They're the biggest operator there. They have the most exposure as percentage of footprint, most overall exposure. They sell the most THC in the state. So that would be an obvious one. But there are a lot of other operators, Verano Holdings, Curaleaf, even some of the smaller ones like Consortium that have very big footprints there. Air Wellness is another one. So obviously, if that vote goes through and support is high for legalization in Florida, which is it's known to be, then you probably want to be exposed to the Florida-centric MSOs.
100%. We talk about these growth states like Maryland and Ohio, but if you were to have, everybody's fixated on Florida, what the potential could be, right?
120 million tourists that come to the state a year. It's got the strongest medical market in the country.
Do you think that announcement, if it's included on the ballot, is something equivalent to see what the HHS did with the DA, and we could see another rally for 30 days like
That's
that?
aggressive.
You do?
I think that's very aggressive.
I got to throw it out there.
I think it's an aggressive statement, but it reinforces the investment thesis in any tier 1 MSO or tier 2 MSO that's levered to the state.
Yeah.
Air Wellness, that becomes a cash cow as the Florida asset goes. Something. This is not financial advice or any sort of. Don't buy the
This
stock.
is informational.
Yeah, this is all informational. But yes, Air Wellness, Truly, Purely. I think GTI comes in on the back of that adult use initiative getting passed, and that will strongly bolster the balance sheets of any MSO leverage in the state of Florida.
Yeah. On that note, I should say a disclaimer. I don't have it in front of me, so I got to do this word for word. All views of the Trade of Black podcast, the guests on this podcast are purely opinion. You should not treat any opinions expressed by us or our guests as investment advice. The views on this podcast are solely to be informational and are not investment advice. There, I did it, boys. All right.
Good.
Well, want to talk to Ziad, the CEO from TerrAscend, pharmacy guy, worked at Walgreens, ran a bunch of obviously pharmacies.
I'm curious to hear his feedback.
He's talking about corporate and independent, the difference between two pharmacies. He actually said it could be a good thing for the industry based on what happened in Georgia. So
I'm all ears.
Yeah,
we had a discussion actually earlier on, and it's a very interesting take on it because of course he worked at CVS, I believe it was.
Is it CVS or Walgreens?
Oh, sorry,
it
it was Walgreens.
15 years. 15 years of Walgreens.
15 years of Walgreens at a high level position, so he knows the industry very, very well. He's got a unique position being working as CEO in MSOs and also being at retail pharmacy. So there's some very interesting perspectives, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say on that.
So all of our viewers out there that are sending comments, I'd love to comment right now, but we've got an HDMI cord. It's about this long, so it's about 5 feet over there. Otherwise, you'd be typing away and replying. But leave comments below. We'll get back to you after, obviously, this live stream is completed. But anything else important? I know we saw a little bit of a sell-off midday.
Verano had their appeal in Alabama completely dismissed. So that is put to bed. As far as their argument for the score that they got justifying the license, a judge in the state of Alabama has thrown that out, so that is no more.
So what's that now mean for the company moving forward?
I'm assuming they're either going to re-enter the licensing process or try to appeal the appeal, if that's even possible in the state of Alabama. I'm not too sure on how their legal system works.
Yeah.
But that is pretty much dead in the water as far as their argument goes. As far as I know, reading it at face value of what's going on.
That was a really weird situation because they scored they had some of the highest
scores. They scored one of the highest scores, and they provably scored higher than the people that actually got licenses granted.
And yet it got repealed based on the calculations of the scoring.
Welcome to the South.
Yeah, that's quite something. Maybe at some point we need some sort of reform the way that the states go through the licensing process. Seems a little convoluted, but
Verano's got a lot of bright spots.
New York, I guess Alabama joins New York in what happened situation there. But they'll rebound, and I'm sure they'll have to do real licensing applications, as Anthony mentioned.
What do you guys think of the brand?
I like the brand. I mean, I like Cookies as the brand. I mean, their genetics is subpar in most markets outside of California, but it's a we'll see how these smoke.
It's not a cigar shop.
All right, Jason Wild is on his way downtown. He just landed at the Toronto International Pearson Airport, so we're going to get him on. Talk about, obviously, the Investor Day, anything related to TerrAscend. Leave some comments below. We're actually going to come back on live in about a half an hour, give or take. So if there's any questions that you want us to ask him, let us know right now, and we'll bring that up, obviously, when he gets here, and we'll talk more in the live stream. For now, gents, get some apps in you. Good chatting with you. TDR Trade of Black podcast. We'll be back in about a half an hour to an hour with the next live stream. Appreciate your time. Leave a comment below, and as usual, subscribe. Want to get to 50,000 subscribers. We get there, we're going to give away a big prize.
These for everybody.
Yeah. We're giving away these.
Give them away, boys. All right, Brody.